Sam Harper. I play in a band called Down Dresser. We do, according to the t shirts that are coming out soon, it says that we write nice pop songs, and we operate in and around the Philadelphia area. Um, I've seen bands do it a lot better than us just because we got hit pretty hard. We were right in the middle of recording our first album and we had one song done and then it hit and we haven't seen each other in months. We've been communicating through Instagram DMs mostly, and we've been using Dropbox for any loose ideas that we have that we can't get in a minute long clip. Um, Amongst writing and stuff like that, it's pretty easy. We write stuff on notepads, take pictures, and send it to each other. 9 times out of 10, I've been doing most of the writing, at least for this. Not that everyone isn't welcome. I co-wrote 2 songs with our rhythm guitarist that are supposed to be forthcoming on this album as well. Um, if we're talking about projects people use to stay connected, I've seen a lot of bands do really, really good work. There's this one really great Philadelphia psych rock band named Bad Shapes. They've been live streaming performances. They got hit even worse than us, I think, because their album was due to be released. They had an album release show planned, and then the shutdown happened. So they ended up live streaming the whole entire album and played an entire album's worth of songs on a live stream show. And I feel like that got a lot of attention, good attention as well. There's been a really awesome DIY community, at least in Art Circle, where bands that know us will put our up, and then we'll get that, and then we'll put 4 other bands' up and add that on our story. And I think it's just trying to keep the scene alive, but doing it to the best of your ability and without playing shows on social media and virtually and things like that. You can't write during this time and not skew towards it a little bit. Like it's impossible. Like I remember we were supposed to just release an EP, and then this happened, and I talked to everybody over the group chat, and I was like, we can't just come out of this and just have an EP. Like, it feels a little anticlimactic to come out of something this, like, world ensnaring and only have 5 songs. So, I think, in terms of writing perspective, it's definitely, it's impossible to not talk about it, you know? Especially, artists kind of thrive, or at least I like to think so. Artists kind of thrive in that medium of chaos and try to like mold something permeable into it or out of it, whatever works. In terms of writing difficulty, I wouldn't say things are difficult. It's just hard to find something to write about that doesn't have to do with this anymore. I think we're probably going to start branching out really soon with like, little story bits and stuff like that of song ideas and things like that. Um, we have the t-shirts pretty much almost done. I just need to call the dude and see about getting them printed in the COVID era of things. So I think communication is key amongst everything, and I'm personally very lucky because if I'm looking for inspiration to begin interaction with people that follow us on social media and stuff like that, I've seen many, many good bands, several of which I've played with, act like total maestros about it. And it's good to know that if you need inspiration, it's really as simple as just looking at what they're doing, and giving credit when it's due when you copy them. In the DIY scene especially, all of these new skills that are being learned, the public outreach is going to be supercharged when things go back to like a semblance of being normal. Like you'll still see people being able to promote shows and stuff like that, but these new means of communication and these new means of interaction, they're like schemas. They're like little learned behaviors. There's some psychology talk. Guess what my major is? Once you learn these things and you can see the value in them, it's very hard to let them go. And once you have them, you have a whole new means of communication, interaction, and you know, development with your audience, and it's a lot easier to get new listeners. So I don't know. I'm an optimist, but I like the idea of seeing the silver lining even in something like this. We haven't done it. We are very, very, very interested in trying it. Um, the only reason we haven't really done it is sporadic schedules are certainly to blame, but from what I've seen from all of the other artists that have done it, it looks fun. So that's certainly a motivator. Um, and it sounds good too, and it still gives you a good idea of what's going to be released and what's going to be played live. My opinion on live streaming is you said it best. It's a new innovation. This was invented practically a few weeks ago of doing like the live streaming shows. I didn't even know about the international live streaming tours. That sounds so cool. Um, but definitely, we would totally consider doing the live streaming stuff. My dad's a camera guy, so like it wouldn't be too difficult to get some like steady cams up and running uh, and get it done. We just need to get everyone together. Progress is imperative, especially when you're trying to promote something as a band. I always joke around that, you know, being in a band is a lot like being in a business, except no one gets paid. So you really need to find some intrinsic motivation to keep everybody going. Um, all of these are very, very good ideas because yeah, movement is the key. Whether it's interacting as much as you can on social media to trying to get in the door through live streaming concerts. If we end up in the yellow zone in September, if my dad's friend's prediction is right, I can see that being a thing. Like if it goes from no more groups of 6 people to no more groups of like 10, it would be probably within the margins of safety to be like, hey, do you mind if we open up the main area just to play 5 songs for a live show and then book it? Yeah, it's another good way to facilitate band to venue interaction, particularly when the venue needs to be promoted too. So, uh, I know Animal Crossing is definitely a thing. Um, a decent amount of us and some other bands, people that we know. There's been quite a bit of Animal Crossing. Just because it's sort of physical social interaction. You're going to another person's island or something like that. I don't even have the console, but so many people I know have been talking about it that I feel like I've been playing it. If that makes any sense. Um, Creative outlets. I personally myself have been cooking a lot more. Just trying to learn, get things under my skin. Uh, Walks, lots and lots of hiking. I've been doing my best to monitor my screen time because I know I will go overboard. I know myself. I will marathon like Community on Netflix for like hours and hours on end. Um, I know our drummer has been making drum loops because he was in marching band forever. So I know it's similar to like something Johnny Greenwood would do, where he would set up his guitar in a loop pedal and he would play things in such a way that it would make everything sound like an orchestra. Um, yeah, I think a lot of that is just what they've been doing. I know our bass player has been doing work with like stickers, like calligraphy, things like that. Just trying to not let the stillness, trying to avoid cabin fever, basically. that makes sense because, they tell you to self isolate, and you should. Self isolation is very important, but at the same time, you can't help the human experience of when you're sitting in your house and it feels like your house is getting smaller and smaller, and suddenly you have a lot of anxiety about it and you can't really do a whole lot to fix it. So staying busy is important. And those are some of the things we've been doing: is Animal Crossing, cooking, hiking, drum loops, and talking about how we're going to do this album once it gets out. That's a good question. That's another thing. On top of the EP thing, we were supposed to play a show at Creep Records this May. We were supposed to play on May 28th. And we were really looking forward to that, and it got canceled. So the minute this is up, I'm probably gonna go and do some arm twisting and be like, "Hey, come on, we were really like would have been fun." So I would say Creep Records definitely. We're trying to get into Philadelphia a little bit more. We played in the suburbs plenty, so probably the Pharmacy. They're really cool. My brother got tattooed by one of the owners apparently. That's a story for another day, as it always is. Um, and then we would love to play once for a third time. We would like to play at Fens Upstairs again, just because that venue is very. That was the first venue where all four of us were like, "This is a really really awesome space." You can feel the love. You know what I mean? You can feel the warmth, and literally the warmth. Because the first time we played there, it was like 70 degrees outside and it was like 85 degrees because it's a really small space and there were like 30 kids there, and it got to the part where I was doing a solo in one of our songs and I could like feel the sweat and just sort of like, this is awesome. Like, it was very much a in the moment thing. So sorry, I'm rambling again. In conclusion, Creep Records, the Pharmacy, and Fens Upstairs. Shout out to Plebs Mahogany. That's my guy. We really appreciate him. I would say there's a really good Canadian artist named More. I've been listening to his new album that just came out, Someplace Else. That's really, really good for treating the isolation depression because it's very, ethereal. There's lots of nice, whirly synths going on. And he has the voice of an angel. So it's very nice. It deals with it. It deals with seasonal depression a lot. It's another day like yesterday. It's like, oh man, that's true. Um, Second artist I would definitely say would be this '80s C86 era synth pop band, because me and my brother have been trying to do music too. They're called, and I kid you not, they're called Close Lobsters. They're from Paisley, Scotland, I think, and all of their songs are. Yeah, once again, I'm really getting into the whole spaciness of it because it feels like we've all been walking on another planet for a couple of months now. And their album Foxhead Stalk This Land is really, really good at, you know, that whole idea. It's very space themed. There's lots of chimey Rickenbackers and, you know, songs about shooting doom rays at the moon and stuff like that. So that's always been nice. And last, but certainly not least, um, oh man, I gotta pick a third. I'd probably say Anti-Socialites by Always, that album they released last year. But I've been really into a lot of like synth pop music recently because I feel like it's light, so easier. It's easier. It goes down real smooth for days like this. When you are walking around or trying to accomplish a task, and it's a lot better to have something poppier in the back. I would say, in conclusion, I would say Anti-Socialites by Always, Foxhead Stalk This Land by Close Lobsters, and Someplace Else by More.